Hello Orchid friends, welcome back to my channel. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, staying healthy and staying safe. Today we have a species orchid, hieroglyphica. I've had this orchid for at least 5 years, if not more, and it has always been one of my favorite in secret until now. I am telling you guys that this is one of my favorite. The reason I don't always talk about this orchid in my channel is because it has always been a reliable bloomer and I don't pay special attention to it. So sometimes it just kind of does its thing and it blooms and it brings me joy, but it's never like a wow because it just has been so steady in terms of performance. Now this orchid, this video is the video I took from its previous bloom cycle. Whenever I can find the clips from previous year, I would always try to, from now on, I will try to include it so that you have a reference point. And then later, you'll see this orchid's current bloom cycle video, and then you'll be able to see how this orchid has done compared to its last year performance. So, you know, kind of a reference point, if you will. So in this video, you see that it's still in a semi-hydro setup. And the cup I use for this orchid is a 16-ounce cup. It's doing really well. It has always been in semi-hydro. It has never had any issue. As soon as I put it into semi-hydro setup, it just, well, when I first got it, it was a moss, and then I just transferred it to semi-hydro. And ever since then, the rest is history. I have never had to repot this orchid. Until now, you see that there are 2 long area roots, and I'm still debating, and I have been debating with myself, against myself, to, you know, as far as whether I should repot this orchid to put the 2 area roots into the media. And I haven't done so because just look at it. It's doing well, lots of leaves, lots of roots, and it blooms every year. So it's probably not wise for me to disturb the orchid by unpotting it, even though some people may argue, oh, what about a gentle repot? Well, this orchid is doing relatively well, and why am I trying to fix something that's not broken? But I do want to pay a little bit more attention this time around just to see if it's showing any signs of stress because of no repot, or maybe inside the media it's just gotten so dirty, even though I still soak this orchid every month like I do with my other orchids. But we'll see. That's something to be determined as far as repotting goes. From here, you'll start to see the photos and video clip I took during this orchid's current bloom cycle, this year's bloom cycle. It already has 3 existing flower spikes. So when it started to elongate those flower spikes and start to put out buds, I just kept looking at it. And then quickly I realized it also was trying to put out a new spike from the base. So that was a very pleasant surprise. This orchid started to bloom in, early spring, really. And it has always been a quote-unquote early bloomer. It's relatively reliable and stable, and the reason I say stable is this orchid has never really given me any bud blast until this particular bloom cycle where 1 or 2 buds blasted. Otherwise, this orchid has never really given me any performance issue. Hieroglyphica has a little bit of fragrance, but like I said, in the past, its fragrance is not the kind of fragrance I would call sweet, but it does have a smell. I just don't care for it. But thankfully, I didn't get this orchid for its fragrance, but its marking as well as the lips. So if you look at the marking, every flower is going to give you different pattern. It's not the same thing, and every year the patterns are different. What I also like about this orchid is its lip, that fuchsia pink color with fuzzy lip, just like my Tetraspis orchids. They all have that fuzzy lip, which I adore. I think it's super cute. The flower also very substantial. If you just kind of fill it out, it's actually hard substantial, and maybe that's why, the white color isn't really that translucent white in the background. It's actually milky white. It's actually more opaque, and I also find that pretty interesting for this orchid. With semi-hydro, I always soak this orchid really well at the end of the month. And because I use double cup method, the outer cup, the blue outer cup, serves as a saucer. So I would fill the water up until almost to the top when it's double cupped, and then just let it be for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours until I remember to go back to it while I typically do something else while it's being soaked. And then I dump out the water by taking out the inner cup and then just let the water drain out through the drainage hole. And if I feel that's still too much water in the reservoir, I would then carefully tilt the cup to let the water come out through the top of the cup. Sometimes small pebbles do fall out, so that's just something you have to be aware. If you use the small pebbles, sometimes they fall out, and you just have to be careful that you don't leave them on the ground, because if you step on them, I can tell you it's literally pain in the butt. Okay, so here this is the clip of this orchid's current blooming cycle. I didn't wait until it's in full bloom, because the bloom cycle spans quite a few weeks, even up to 2.5 months. And this is not as long as 2.5 months, usually a month to a month and a half. It's impossible to wait until everything is in full bloom, so I just had to find the right time when I have time, and then I just went ahead and took this video for documentation purposes. When it was in bloom, it was still trying to grow its roots, so this orchid was trying to do many things at one time, and I think it's just because it was the right season, the right temperature, right condition, so it was just very vigorous. I tend to give this orchid a little bit more water than other orchids, because this orchid, it has many leaves, and then it also has many roots inside the media, especially in the reservoir. So I give it a little bit more water, and it's never had any problem, because usually by the 5th or 6th day, it's almost dry. Other than like the bottom of the pebbles at the bottom would have slightly darker color. Otherwise, the wet dry cycle can easily be achieved within a week's time if I just give it 1/4 cup of water. And occasionally I do spray it down from the top just to make sure that the top layer is a little bit more moist, but I only do that very sparingly. Overall, this orchid is so easy to take care of. Really is not fussy. So if you're interested, try to find one in your local area, and I think you'll really like this orchid too. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!